Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Whether you're listening during your commute, while working out, or just relaxing at home, we appreciate you. Every download, every listen, and every subscription means a lot. Up next, the 12 Kyle podcast.
Stand on it, but understand that there's consequences in everything that we do, no matter what. Just because we have free speech doesn't mean that you're free from the consequences, because there's always going to be consequences in anything you say, do, or anything else. You have to be proactive, and you have to be an agent of change where you're pushing your local stuff even further. You can't just show up at the polls every 4 years. If you're showing up at the polls every 4 years, you're wasting your time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. I want to thank you all for tuning in as you do each and every week. Shout out to those of you watching on YouTube as well as Spotify. Man, check this out. Here recently, at the time of this recording, there has been a lot of discourse in the community about celebrities and their fan bases. To be more specific, Black celebrities and their fan bases, and how some may fall as far as their political support in this country. Now, at the time of this recording, there is an administration that is currently running the United States. I'm not going to call any names. You know who it is. But that name never gets mentioned on this podcast. It's always referred to as Duke. So going forward, it will be Duke. Nonetheless, so there are some celebrities, some Black celebrities, who, much to the surprise of other Black people as well as their fan bases, it has been discovered that these Black people are supporters of Duke and the administration, which is totally fine. You can celebrate and, get behind whoever you'd like. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand that it does and sometimes comes with some consequences. I think one of the biggest things is people have to ask themselves, and it's a question that I ask quite often: why do you care? Why do you care where your favorite athlete or your favorite singer or your favorite MC, rapper, why do you care where they fall politically? And the reason why I ask that is because, like, in theory, if we're being honest, we really don't know these people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who Barry Sanders voted for in the 2000 election. I don't know. I mean, he's my favorite running back of all time. I could probably guess, but I don't even know if he voted, right? Michael Jordan. I mean, he gets brought up a lot. I don't know who he voted for. I don't know who Kobe voted for. And I don't know these men. I know them from their athletic exploits. I know a little bit about them as far as from their interviews, but I don't know them. I don't know who Rev Run voted for in the last election. I could probably guess, but I don't even know if Rev Run even voted. But he's somebody who I admired, and his group was the reason why I fell in love with hip hop. But I don't know Rev Run. He seems like a nice guy. He's been, like I said, the guy that really took off, that helped hip hop take off for me in his group of Run DMC, but I don't know him personally. I know what I've seen on TV. I know what I've heard in his music, but I don't know him personally. He's a reverend, but for all I know, he could smoke weed and snort cocaine. I don't know, right? I would hope not, but he's a human just like me. He puts his pants on one leg at a time. So I wanted to start by asking that, because I think that's a valid question that we probably should ask ourselves more often. Why do we care? And I've seen some discourse on social media, and I'll get into it in just a few, but some of it's been interesting. Some of it's been downright comical. And some of it's really been sad. But if you go back to episode 705, the episode was called We Know Too Much. I truly believe that we know way too much. Social media, the internet has given us access, and probably we have a closer affiliation with people, or at least in our minds we do, with some of these people, but we don't know them. But we know too much. So we don't, why do we know where people stand politically or don't stand? And again, you're free to choose to support whomever you choose. But over a period of time, it got to a point where we felt the need to let everybody know. Case in point, there's a guy who lives, and I think I talked about this on the episode. If I didn't, I apologize, because I meant to bring it up. But there's a guy who lives around the corner from me. Black guy, black family. And there was a Trump sign in his yard right around the election time. You know, it didn't shock me because, again, I don't know these people. I've never said hello or bye to anybody or in his house. Just looked kind of different from what you may expect. A Trump sign in a black yard in a black neighborhood. And my wife mentioned it. She was like, "Did you see that Trump sign in that guy's yard?" I was like, "Yeah, I saw it." And that was it. But, I don't know those people. But I found it interesting that, somebody kicked the sign over one day. And they put it back up. And then somebody kicked the sign over again. And then they put it back up. And then somebody took the sign out of their yard and threw it in the street. And they threw it in the street because I almost ran over it. And I'm like, well, wait a minute now. We're not going to litter. But you get the point. Like, I don't know how or why. They didn't have to tell me that they, were supporting Duke. It was cool, but, their support of Duke led someone to be moved to the point where they felt like they could go into their yard, take that sign and throw it in the street, which is crazy. I don't want anybody coming to my yard, period, especially uninvited. That being said, they have a right to do that. I just don't know how or why we got to the place where we felt the need to voice and let everybody know, because there was a point in time, in the not so distant history, in our not so distant past, where, nobody knew who voted for whom or what party you supported, because when you went inside that booth and you clicked that name or you wrote in that name, that was it. Nobody knew unless you told somebody. And there was a point in time, and again, not that long ago, where people kept that close to the vest like they would their virginity. Like, you weren't gonna let nobody know who you was doing it to or who was doing it to you. But I said all that to say this, like, I don't know when or why that became popular, but again, we know too much. We know way too much. And, where people stand on social issues, we know too much. Someone there was talk about, Palestine one day, and they were asking people, well, hey, where do you stand on Palestine? Don't ask me. Don't ask me where I stand on Palestine. Ask me where I stand on, on Martin Luther King Drive, or Memorial Drive, or Peachtree Street. Ask me what I think about that. Don't ask me about what I think about Palestine. I didn't have any thoughts on Palestine. It's unfortunate, but I didn't have any thoughts. And to be honest, when it happened, I wasn't really that up on what was happening to even give some level of response. That being said, and even if I felt like giving you a response, it's none of your business what I think about Palestine. If I ain't talking about it on this podcast, you don't need to know. But I say that in jest, but I mean, again, we know too much, and I don't know. It's the process of group thought. I mean, and I see it on social media, like, people want to listen to not necessarily my podcast, because I'm not giving you that type of content, but they want to listen and watch podcasts and things of that nature, and they want to hit the comment section and they want to argue or they want to disagree. And that's fine. You definitely are free to do that. I ain't want to go back and forth with none of you. I'm just not, right? Because I don't know you and you don't know me. But it makes you think of cancel culture. And we've talked about, canceling people and how they can get canceled. And in theory, some people just won't be canceled. I mean, like you see the cover art, Snoop Dogg's on the cover. Snoop Dogg ain't getting canceled. So Snoop can support Duke. He supported Duke. Duke got, from what I understand, got one of his homies out of jail or something like that. And so Snoop's indebted to Duke. And that's cool for Snoop. And for some people, it's a line drawn. And there are going to be some that say, well, you know what, Snoop? Okay, if you're going to support Duke, I'm not going to listen to your music anymore. And that's fine. I just think Snoop's on a level where you can't really cancel him. You can make a case Snoop's one of the most popular people on earth, one of the most recognizable faces on earth. You're not canceling Snoop. Nothing short of Snoop getting caught with like some underage girls. You probably not getting Snoop about the paint. And people feel away. And they will show it because if I'm not mistaken, does the album come out yet? I think he's got a new album. I'm not listening to Snoop's album because Snoop don't rap like the Snoop that I remember. I just can't, Doggy Style, yeah, that's the Snoop I remember. But this new Snoop Lion, I'm okay. No disrespect. He ain't making music for me no more. But he's not in a position where he can get canceled. Now, someone like Chrisette Michele, she can get canceled. I'll be honest. Chrisette Michele agreed to sing at Duke's initial, inaugural ball or something like that. And I think she got like 200,000. Well, I hope she still has that 200,000 because I haven't seen or heard from that lady since. And it was kind of like that old Ice Cube line. You might have a heart attack when you find out the black folks don't want you back. And they got Chrisette Michele up out the paint so fast, it wasn't even funny. But she was at a level where she could get canceled. And I don't want to say canceled, but a lot of her audience is black people. And there are quite a few black people who will draw a line in the sand. If you don't agree with their thought process, if you don't agree politically where they stand, and they have a right to do that. And they will voice it. They will say, hey, you over there, we're over here. And if they don't like who you deal with in your politics, they will say, well, hey, we will boycott you and your stores. Ask Target. Because there are a lot of black folks who have not been in Target since the quote unquote boycott started over a year ago. Now, I haven't been in Target, but it wasn't so much because of the boycott. I don't go to Target. I just don't, my wife did at one point in time, but she stopped going. And she stopped, asking me to go pick up stuff from Target. So that's what it was. And I don't think Target's going to suffer because I'm not going there, but you go look at their numbers, they're suffering. So I said all that to say this. There's a line that's being drawn in the sand, and you have to acknowledge that line. And for some, that line is going to be way more painful than others. Case in point, at the time of this recording, Chili from the group TLC is in the news. As many of you know, maybe you don't know, Chili got into some heat, if you will, at least in the community. Chili, they found out that she had reposted on her Instagram a video or something that inferred or referred to First Lady Michelle Obama as being transphobic. And listen, I don't care who you are, you're not going to play with the First Lady. And she'll forever be my first lady. I don't know what y'all call this other lady up here, but she ain't the first lady to me. Michelle Obama, that's the first lady, right? So you're not going to play with her. You know what I'm saying? And for Chili to repost that, she said it was up for less than 24 hours. People started calling her. So she went and saw what it was and she took it down. And my thing is, why would you repost something that you did not watch? quote unquote. Even Duke said he reposted something that depicted the Obamas as monkeys, and he said he didn't see it, or at least the press secretary said he didn't see it. But I digress. But I'm never reposting something that I'm not going to watch all the way through. If I repost something on Twitter, which I'm not on Twitter these days, but if I'm on, if I do repost something, trust me, I've seen it. And while a repost isn't a cosign, a repost is meaning you believe in something about it. So she did that, and then people started doing their, due diligence. The Twitter fingers got out, and they found that she had liked several posts pertaining to Duke. There was a post for Charlie Kirk, and so all of these MAGA posts, were popping up with her like. And here's the thing: when you like something, there's the digital footprint has been established. So if I go on Instagram and I like a bunch of twerk videos, you can go see every twerk video that I liked. I mean, like, it ain't hard to find. Bouncing booties on ice, their page is going to show how many times I've liked their video. For the record, I haven't, but just you get the point. And I don't think that's a page, but go ahead. Nonetheless, she created a digital footprint, and there was a lot of it was tied to MAGA. And so subsequently, black folks was trying to get chilly about the paint, and they may have in so many words. And so she had to produce a video. She came on the video. She explained that she, did it by mistake. She came out with a statement that said, "I'm not MAGA." Now, the devil is in the details always. I read her statement, and in her statement, she said, "I'm not MAGA," but she didn't say, "I don't support Duke." It was found that she made, I think, 14 contributions to different charities for a total of about $1,000. And those were all supported by Duke. Now, she said that those were campaigns and donations where she made to veterans because her dad is a veteran. And she said this all in her video. And I watched her video. She did not come off as believable at all. Chili, if you're watching this, you probably should hire Olivia Pope. Because it's like the old Jay-Z line. We don't believe you. You need more people. And all of this comes on the heels of Chili and her bandmate, T-Boz, were about to go on tour. And they're about to go on tour with, because it's TLC, Salt and Pepper, and In Vogue. And so what's interesting is that when you think about those three groups, TLC, Salt and Pepper, and In Vogue, I would say that probably 90% of their fan base are black women. So if you're going to stand next to Duke, which is cool, there's nothing that says that you can't stand next to Duke. But if you follow history, the one group of people who have stayed the furthest away from Duke, who have like a 95% disapproval and voted against Duke twice, over 90% was black women, which is your core audience for those three groups, more specifically for TLC, because I don't think the white teeny boppers that grew up on their music are coming to their concerts, and not in droves like that. And so obviously, it's T-Boz, Left Eye's no longer with us, and it's Chili. And then they have to try to figure this thing out with this concert with these other two groups. And so it set off a firestorm. I mean, I rarely talk about current events, but it set off a firestorm. And by the time this comes out, I don't know where this story will be, but I'm just kind of giving you the backdrop. But what was interesting was I did get a chance to see some of the discourse. Like I said, I rarely go into the comments, but I had to go into comments for this. And I was on the Ice Cream Convos page. Shout out to Zavi. That's my homie right there. That's her page, Ice Cream Convos on Facebook. And there was a young lady by the name of Tasha Lachey who commented. And I'll read you her comment. And I thought it was very key what she said. She said, quote, "If you're MAGA, stand on it. Stop whispering now that the room got quiet. People can respect the truth, even when they disagree with it. What they don't respect is the sudden amnesia when consequences show up. Let's not play dumb. What people post on social media is intentional. Every word, every caption, every little dog whistle. It only becomes a quote unquote mistake when the backlash starts knocking at your door." Close quote. I don't know who Tasha Lachey is, but she nailed it. I mean, you really can't say it much better than that. Stand on it. You know, if you support Duke, stand on it, but understand that there's consequences in everything that we do, no matter what. If I go out and say a bunch of things about the LGBTQA community, then I am, I'm capable, it's possible that I could lose my employment. I could lose my household. A whole bunch of things can happen. You know, freedom of speech ain't ever free. It's never been free. And just because we have free speech doesn't mean that you're free from the consequences, because there's always going to be consequences in anything you say, do, or anything else. Let me read another comment. This was from Threads. Olivia Charisse writes, "I think it's time that we as Black people have a conversation about how we're all not united by race, but by class. Millionaires and billionaires are not on our side." And then someone commented just beneath her, said, "Y'all have too much time on your hands." Now, I will agree with that. Like, I mean, people were going, and it's not hard to do, but you can go and see who follows who on social media. In fact, to the point where there was one person that was able to find that Big Boy from Outkast follows Duke, follows the White House, follows Melania, and follows the POTUS account on Instagram. Now, from what I understand, Big Boy from Outkast has donated money to the Obama campaign. And he gave money to Senator Harris when she was running. I don't know that he's ever publicly supported Duke. I haven't heard that. It's funny because I was chopping it up with my homegirl, Pretty Black. Shout out to Pretty Black, because I know she's gonna hear this episode. And she was like, "Lord, it can't be Big Boy." And I was like, I mean, it could be. Well, I don't. I've actually met Big Boy before. I don't know him personally though. Like I don't know which way his politics are. He makes a lot of money. There are a lot of people, to the other person's point, these millionaires and billionaires, you know, financially, they may sway on one side. They may sway to the MAGA side, if you will. And here's the thing I've always said. I can understand if someone says, well, hey, no matter what color they are, hey, I'm going to vote red every single time because this is the party I identify with. This is what I do. This is blah, 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 blah. I get it, right? I can understand voting red. What I can't understand is voting for Duke. Because I know people, Black people, who traditionally vote red. They sat it out. They didn't. They weren't going to vote for Harris, and they told me, they was like, "Look, I'm not voting for Harris, but I'm not voting for Duke either. I'm never going to vote for Duke." And you know what? I didn't like it, but I could respect it. You know, I don't understand voting for Duke, but you know, get it how you live. That's you doing you. You have to do. We all have a choice, right? And you have to make the choice that you deem is best for you and your family. But I always say every year about when I do because I don't talk about politics a lot on this podcast. I may have 5 episodes about politics in the 700 plus episodes that you have. But the thing that I will say is that, you know, if you're voting every 4 years and that's all that you're doing, you're missing the boat. You have to be active. You have to be proactive, and you have to be an agent of change where you're pushing your local stuff even further. You can't just show up at the polls every 4 years. If you're showing up at the polls every 4 years, you're wasting your time. And that don't matter who you vote for. And I say that as someone who is not a Democrat or Republican. I'm a registered independent, and I will tell you that I have voted Democrat in the last couple of elections. But no, I'm not. There was no way. I would write my name in before. I'd write your name in. I would write in Lassie before I voted for Duke. I'm never going to vote for Duke. No disrespect. Disrespect. I'm just not. But that's my God-given right. But I don't have to tell you that. And I just told you because you already know. So what happens when some of the brands that you support don't align with you politically? What do? What happens when you're driving a Tesla? What happens when you want to go to Walmart? What happens when you want to order some packages off of Amazon? What happens when you want to check to see how your granny's doing on Facebook? I have an Apple phone. I don't know. I mean, what if Apple doesn't align politically where I think they should? What if they've donated money? What if your favorite football team, has given money to an administration that you don't support? Where do you draw the line? I think people, and I've said this often, people, we move that line for whomever we want to. So as much as, people will say, okay, I'm not going to go to Target, but they might go to Walmart. Or they may say, I'm not going to listen to Chili, but they might listen to Snoop Dogg, or they might listen to Nelly. So I think we pick and choose as to who we want to, move out the paint. For me, I moved R. Kelly out the paint a long time ago. I was done with him when I saw that video, and I didn't even see the whole video. I saw enough of it, of him peeing on a little girl. I was like, no, I'm done. And I've never listened to his music, took his music off all my streaming, everything, took off all my mixtapes, everything. I'm never going to intentionally listen to his music. Never. I don't like him. I never have, at least not since then. Did he make some great music? Yeah, he did. I can't deny that, but that don't mean I got to listen to him. And I genuinely, and I've always said this, I genuinely hope he rots in jail. And I have no problem saying that. But that's just me. But I've been in clubs where Step in the Name of Love came on, and guess what? I walked off the dance floor. That's my own personal stance, right? But there are other people that are like, they're going to bump Kel's music forever. And that's cool. You can't deny it. I Believe I Can Fly isn't a great song. It's one of the greatest songs ever. But I'm never listening to it intentionally. Now, if I'm at your bar mitzvah and they play it, I guess I got to listen to it, right? Can't just walk out the room. But I'm never going to support him or his music if he ever gets out of jail. But like I said, we pick and choose where we draw the line. And so there's been a lot of discourse online about whether or not people are going to go to this concert. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, because everybody that I've talked to that had intentions on going to this concert say they're not going. I heard Jamel Hill. Shout out to Jamel Hill. I watched her podcast the other day. She said that she and like 6 of her other closest friends, they planned a girls' trip. They were going to fly to Toronto and go see the show in Toronto. And they planned a whole big event around this concert. And she said she's at the point now where she'll take the loss on whatever she got to take the loss on, but she's not going. And so, it makes a difference. And so Chili is in an interesting predicament because, again, that's her fan base. And her fan base is going to, whether or not she tours, because, is TLC still making music? I don't think TLC is still making music. So she's going to make money off of tours. And you can't make money off tours if people aren't coming. Now, the flip side of that, people have asked the question, is that fair to Salt and Pepper? Is it fair to En Vogue? I mean, if you want my opinion, I don't know where they are contractually, but I would probably try to see if I could get TLC off that tour before the tour starts. And I don't think at the time of this recording, I don't think the tour has actually started yet. But I have yet to see, in the few comments for what it's worth that I've seen on Facebook and Instagram, I've yet to see one person that said that they're going to go to that concert. And I've seen people say, hey, I bought tickets, but I'm not going. I've seen people say, well, I was going to go, but I'm not going. And so it's going to look real funny for Chili. And at this point, I don't know what she can do, because her explanations for the posts that she like and where she sent her money, and she's not, affiliated with this group, is falling on deaf ears. And I'll be honest, she didn't really do a good job of providing much of an explanation. Not that she owes anybody an explanation, but her money is derived from, people in the public. She needs the dollars from you going to her concert. I was never going to that concert because, I love all of them, but come on, man, what I look like at that concert. I don't know if this had been New Edition, would I be upset? I wouldn't be upset, but I'd be like, I don't know, man. I ain't seen the boys in a couple of years. And I say that in jest, but what I mean is, like, again, we pick and choose. And I think we need to be more honest about that. Chili has every right to support whom she wants, but understand that, there's consequences that come with everything. And, the minute that you get behind people, people are going to understand and understand that that's who you affiliate yourself with. Shout out to the homie Uncle Dolomite from the Too Much Game podcast. Uncle Dolomite always talks about, one of the things that he always says is, he's like, I don't like taking pictures with dudes. And he was like, I don't take pictures with dudes. And what he means by that is, like, not so much as just random dudes, but if you know Uncle Dolomite, where he's from, how he was raised, what set he's from as far as gang life, coming up like that, it doesn't make any sense to take pictures with dudes, because if you're in a picture, you're saying I'm affiliated with the people in this picture. And if you don't know these people, or you ain't really down with them like that, then why would you take a picture with them? Because guess what? When that person gets caught, or they get into trouble, they can always refer back to that picture. So I get what he means by that. And the same kind of applies here. You're only as good as the people that you affiliate yourself with. So if you say, hey, I'm MAGA, okay, stand on it. I'm cool. I would have respected, not that I lost a lot of respect, but I did lose some respect for, I lost respect for Chili in this aspect, because I feel like she's trying to play both sides of the fence, and you can't. I don't think you should try to straddle the fence on people. You either one side or the other. And if she's on the MAGA side, that's cool. Don't lie to people. And I think she's trying to lie to people to save face. And I think people would respect her more if she just said, look, I made those posts, I made those donations because I'm Team MAGA. And there's going to be some people that don't like it. And there's going to be some people who are like, you know what, that's cool. I'm coming to the show anyway. I'm going to jam with you. And then there's some like, nah, you standing next to this dude? I can't. I won't. I'm not going to give you my money. And you know what? You need my money. You need my money to survive. And so, it's like that old Ice Cube line. You might have a heart attack when you find out the black folks don't want you back. Wherever you stand politically, just be careful about what you say and what you do, because you got to keep living beyond this administration. In conclusion, I think it's a very interesting, and it's a very advanced and slippery slope. How you navigate it solely is up to you. I'll leave you with this thought, and I wrote this down. There is no ethical consumption under capitalism. And that's difficult to admit. Some of the most important things in our lives are compromised. Many of the things that we need and use every day are created by companies that may vastly go against your interests. How do you handle that? I don't have a great answer for how you should. It's an individual choice. Also, keep in mind that for a lot of people, their cares stop at their front door. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We drop new episodes every Thursday. Also, don't forget about the Rap Soul Podcast. That's my music podcast where we talk about hip hop, soul, rap, and R&B from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. It's the best music podcast that you've never heard, so make sure that you check it out. Also, we have merch. Click the link in the description box, and there you can buy 12 Kyle Podcast t-shirts, hoodies, as well as coffee mugs. We got it for the low. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle Podcast. I will catch you guys next time. 5,000. Cheers.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the 12 Kyle Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share this podcast with a friend who needs the 12 Kyle Podcast in their life. Every listen, every download, and every share helps us grow. Thanks for being a part of the 12 Kyle Podcast community. We appreciate your support. We will catch you next time. 5,000.